Well, why don't we start with the pathway towards self-realization? In your diary, your June diary, you made 7 points of the pathway towards self-realization. Um, do you want me to go over them, or do you remember them all?
Oh,
Well, come on. You must. I mean, it must be imprinted in your brain or something.
probably.
So, okay, you outlined 7 points of the pathway towards self-realization. Unawareness creates a perception of an external reality. That's like baseline step. It's like no awareness at all at that point.
Yes.
And then second point is any experience you have in your consciousness is entirely of your own making. So we're still at that baseline, and experience is not your true reality. So again, now we've got a little bit of awareness. Any experience you have of yourself is not your true self. Then in every experience you are, but you are not your experience. Awareness creates clarity. What you are is beyond consciousness. So that you described as a pathway towards self-realization. But I guess I have a question on that because it seems to me that that's not the complete pathway because you talk about allowing for the totality of what arises, and not only that but also that you don't judge what arises, and those aren't in those bullet points, which I presume means that this was sort of the beginning statement but not the complete statement.
Yeah, yes, yeah. So that's really, really excellent. And I really like the question that you bring to it. You see, what you have in front of you, what you see, those 7 points, they are just dots on a piece of paper. And they are reminders of something.
Yeah.
It's like a signpost. It's like when you travel and you go to a country where you've never been before, you think, where am I? Or how how do I find direction? How do I know that I am on course? And so these points that you mentioned, they're kind of signposts, like that is what you will encounter when you do this process, which I now call the awareness method, that brings you on a journey of discovery, on a journey of seeing, first of what is not true, which then reveals to you what is true. So this journey that starts out with making or doing the most unlikely step, which is counterintuitive. So let's say, like an example, as a starting point, that you wake up in the morning and what's there is all that stuff, these thoughts that tell you about yesterday, about yourself, about the future. They point to the future. They bring up an image of yourself or an idea of yourself, or they point to something that you identify with as self, and which, when you react to that, then sets in motion another escalation of the thinking, etc., ad nausea. And so to do the counterintuitive thing rather than wondering like, oh, what is this and what is that and what does it mean about me, and oh my God, the future, if that happens then I'm basically screwed or something like that. So rather than being in that place of, well, I would now call it entertainment, that you being in this place of reaction, to take the most unlikely step, which is that you allow for it in its totality, in its absolute totality. That already is an enormous step. It's like, wow, like, why would I do that? I mean, like, that is like, that would be the last thing I would do, because that does not give necessarily a pleasant experience. Actually, it is quite uncomfortable, but and also It might bring you to places that you would not have foreseen that might happen. But still, what I'm saying is, when you stay with it, when you keep on allowing for what is arising, and so in fact that you allow for it exactly as it arises, so you do not intervene, you do not interact, you don't engage with it, you don't try to modify it, you don't try to basically to not have it be there. When you do that, then at some point there is a moment of recognition, if you can be with it, that it is just a thought. It's just something that arises in your consciousness. It has no reality. And so that is step one, actually step two of the awareness method. Step one is to recognize that actually that you have these type of thoughts, or well, that you have thoughts and that you tend to react to them. Step two is what the process that I just gave witness to. And then the third step is then you allow for it in its totality without having any particular outcome in mind. So that is one step up of the allowing. So then you really are, you are no longer located in the thinking. You really are allowing for whatever is there without having any particular outcome in mind. And that brings you in a place of awareness. And what that gives you is clear vision. You have a true perspective of what is going on. Most likely with respect to what was first part of this duality of the thinking is now, you could say, updated to a place of non-duality, which is awareness. You have an expanded awareness. It actually has been expanding your awareness, this process of allowing, because actually what happens when you do this, and you do this consistently, and it takes a lot of courage, and you need to be able to be with discomfort, and that is a skill that you can develop. You're not going to die, you're not going to fall apart when you experience discomfort. But what is interesting is that in this process of allowing, in fact, you're going through a journey. You're going through a journey of recognizing your attachments, letting go of your attachments, where you are hooked, where it hooks you. That actually is a liberating experience, so to speak, and which brings you to a place of awareness where there's nothing going on except for your expanded understanding of yourself and life. In the process of doing so, this awareness, this new awareness that you have, you then are informed by life, by what has perspective, what makes sense, what is inclusive. And so then it becomes clear that with respect to what was there first, which might have pointed to a problem, becomes then clear what action to take, like being in this place of perspective and clarity. Then it will speak to you. What is the next action to take, if any? What I've noticed in my life is that, in particular, those things that I wake up in the morning and think, oh my God, what is this now, or this or that? In 95% of the cases, the best action is to do nothing, is to realize that it will resolve itself. And also to realize that a lot of that stuff that wants me to act, that is so compelling, like I got to do something about it, or this has an urgency, I need to act. That's all, in fact, the mind wanting to have control over a situation. And the truth is, I've got no control. I've got absolutely no control over life, over the outcomes or the happenings in my life. Now, it might make sense that there are, let's say, circumstances that it would be appropriate to take action. Then you make a note of it. That is great. That then move forward, well, the project that your life is. And so now in this process, or in this, what I call this practice of allowing for the totality of what arises, and then experiencing what's there exactly as it is, and then which then brings you to a place of clarity. There are certain things that I notice that gives me the opening that leads to the next opening, that leads to the next opening, for me to be in this place of awareness. And these are the things that you just mentioned, these 7 things. So number 1 is that you realize that, in fact, there is no external world. I mean, the perception of an external world is given by us, by the reaction that we tend to have towards the thinking. We respond to the thinking as if there is something external that we are responding to. But in this process of allowing, you come to an absolute clarity that is all of your own making. It's all happening in your own consciousness. Well, that's an enormous opening. It's like, wow, you tell me, like, well, this is all, like, I'm all responsible for this? Like, I am the author of all of this? Yes, you are. And there is a liberation that comes with it, because you are then no longer the victim of the thinking, no longer at the effect of your own thinking or of the mind. There is this knowing that it is of your own creation. And that sets you free from this compellingness that we have to interact with our thinking as if it is reality. And then, of course, when you are in this place of awareness, you then take action, not based or as a reaction to the thinking, but coming from your being. You know what is the best action to take. It comes from a place of knowing. So in many situations in a person's life, that would make such a difference in how you go about your life. Because we all know, I know, that a lot of stuff, decisions that I've been taking, actions that I undertook, that were a reaction to the thinking, all only created more problems. They actually set me up for the next problem that then I had to deal with. And so, yeah, so this is how I see that I can respond to your observation, reading the diary and seeing the points. And so they are like signposts along the way of this journey of self-realization, of being yourself.